Welcome back, SuicideFantasyFootball.com, telling you about the running backs you should look at picking up this week, either for a win to get you in the playoffs or to set yourself up for the playoffs. So, Jim, you said they're not in order, so who is your number one guy?
My number one guy, as much as you don't like the Indianapolis Colts, I think Donald Brown is the pickup. He looks good coming around the end. They're going to keep running the ball. I'm not saying he's going to score. He's not going for $150 and 3 touchdowns, but he's legitimate 80, 90 yards and a touchdown. He's the kind of guy who you're throwing him in at the last minute. You're talking about playoff time. You're talking about down at the crunch. You need 15 or 17 points from your running back, and he's who I'm shooting first.
If you're in the playoffs and needing Donald Brown, good luck. But I don't think that's a bad call. My top guy on your list is probably Roy Halou, just because of what he can do out of the backfield. Now, the caveat there is that Mike Shanahan's his coach, and you never know. Ryan Terrain could be the starter this week.
Yeah. But it's funny because Mike Shanahan goes on this big tirade and says Roy Halou's not a number one running back. He's not somebody you can give the ball to 20 times a game. We need somebody who's a workhorse. And the week after he says that, Halou gets 20 carries for 125 yards and catches a bunch of balls scored. I don't know. I only look at our one league where we get outrageous points for everything, but he had 40 points in our RGFL league.
So he's my top pick. Who else out of the other two guys you got there? Who are you more?
I'm probably going Maurice Moore second, or third. Because he's at least a legitimate fantasy back. Kevin Smith is probably done. He's not going to come back. We called
it last week. You should have picked him up when I told you to, but you knew he was getting hurt.
And you got Javid Best is not coming back. I don't care what anybody says. He's not coming back. They keep saying he's coming. He's not. No. His agent told him
he's going on IR soon.
Yep, he's taking a Sidney Crosby route. So it's going to be Morris or Keelan Williams, and I think Morris showed through his play last week that he's going to be the guy.
Me too. And your other guy, I actually picked him up, C.J. Spiller, just because you hope that he's the guy they drafted him to be. But 19 carries.
You hope that he's the guy that you saw at Clemson, because I remember watching.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They drafted him to be
ridiculous.
Awesome.
He was a weapon. I'm like, damn, that's Marshall Faulk right there. He's going to be returning kicks and punts. They're going to have to find a way to get him involved. And that was when they still had. Did they still have Marshawn Lynch? They had Lynch,
I think they got rid of
Jackson
Lynch to bring in.
But I mean, it's ridiculous, the talent that he showed, and
he might be right.
He's just not done. I think it was all three of them at one time: Fred Jackson, Spiller, and Lynch, all at one time. And I'm like, man, how are they going to get the ball for all three of them? But I think that C.J. Spiller might have one of those games this week. The coin might drop this week, and he could go. He could go off. He could have one.
Who they play against? Because you don't write that down like I do.
I don't write that down sometimes.
So who are they playing against?
I don't remember.
Oh my God, you're bad.
Shh. Sometimes I write it down.
You never do, but whatever. Okay. All right, so C.J. Spiller, I'm with you. He's my fourth guy on your list.
Yeah, out of the four, he's four.
Now let's go. Who you're sitting?
I'm sitting all those guys. There's no order for that. I'm definitely sitting Ryan Terrain. He hasn't done anything this year except for one game. Definitely sitting him. Jonathan Stewart. We were talking about that earlier on the show. I'm definitely sitting Jonathan Stewart. I don't know that I'm playing D'Angelo Williams. I might, but I'm definitely sitting Jonathan Stewart. Now you're at crunch time. You can't afford zeros here. You'd rather take a high risk and go for somebody else. Jackie Battle.
Against the Bears.
And just he hasn't really done a whole lot.
No, he looked good in a couple of fourth quarters.
He looked really good, but they're still giving Thomas Jones the ball. They're still giving LaRon McClain some time. They're not giving the number one status to him, and you can't take a risk there. And my last guy is James Starks. Even though he looks good in spurts, again, they're still giving Ryan Grant the ball. They're still throwing screen passes to John Kuhn at the goal line. They're still divvying it up so much. You can't afford to
and especially Aaron Rodgers gets some rushing touchdowns. So for a lot of reasons,
if your running back doesn't get a touchdown and only gets 62 yards, to me that's a loss in fantasy football. When you're coming up close to the playoffs, I don't want 6 points for my running back.
No,
I can't.
Not unless I'm getting 5 catches for 50 yards.
Right. And you're probably not getting that from
as well as 62.
Yeah,
rushing.
Yep.
All right, now of these 4 guys you got listed, who I'm with you, all 4 guys are sits. Which of them are cuts? Are they all cuts at this point?
Well,
Ryan Terrain, I think, is a cut.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't cut Ryan Terrain because
Jonathan Stewart not a cut.
He could be the lightning in the bottle one week, and he'd be the first. He comes out and has 150 yards like he has before. He could be the number one waiver wire pickup next week. So it depends. I'm probably sitting him. I'm probably not cutting Jonathan Stewart just because you never know what happens with D'Angelo Williams. I'm probably cutting Jackie Battle and
James Starks. It's hard to say you're going to cut the guy who could be the number one guy on the Packers, but at the same time, I'm definitely sitting him. I'm with you. You're not cutting Terrain. I'm cutting Terrain. I'm cutting Jackie Battle. I'm keeping Jonathan Stewart and James Starks on the bench.
Yep.
All right, that's the running back position. Check us out Monday nights, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Fantasy Football Overload on Blog Talk Radio. If you like our videos, subscribe to them below down here somewhere. And then get ready. We're going to come back with wide receivers and tight ends. Get you ready for the playoffs.